something better than them. We have better understanding. We're stricter than them. We're more hardcore than them. And this is wrong. Our line of taqwa is the line of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba. We don't try to surpass that and think, if I'm really hard on myself, this is going to be getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, you do it in the way that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum did it. And this is why, and inshallah the brothers, especially the things that aren't in these notes, it's good if you take these notes. This is why the people who are today, we find them from the Sufis, who some of them, they go to an extent in worship that they think they can surpass Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For example, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbid us from fasting every day. He said, you fast some days and you break the fast. You fast and you break. In the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were 3 young men, and one of them, he took an oath that I'm going to fast without breaking it. That every day I'm going to fast. One of them said, I will not marry. One of them said, I will not sleep the whole night. Every night I'm going to pray the whole night. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is a sahih hadith, told them that I fear Allah more than you. That of course, who can have more taqwa than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And he said, I marry, and I fast, and I break my fast, and I pray in the night, and I sleep. So, and then Rasulullah completed the hadith by saying, and whoever leaves my sunnah is not from us. To the meaning of the hadith. So, now we understand that where is the line of understanding Islam is the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the example of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. What in the Quran, this is Islam. Not, oh, this guy, he stayed on a mountain for 50 years and didn't eat anything for 50 years, and for 50 years he didn't move. That's not something impressive to us. The impressive proof you can bring us is قال الله وقال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. قال الله وقال الرسول. This sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the proof. This is Allah said in the Quran, the Prophet ﷺ said in the authentic hadith. This is where our Islam comes from. This is what impresses us. Not this guy, he can light a fire and put it in his mouth. He can work in a circus. But that's got nothing to do with his credentials in Islam. In Islam, you bring from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Oh, sorry for that.
There's a hadith that me and Dahir read a couple of days ago. Weeks ago before he left. The hadith said that there will be people from the east that will leave the religion like an arrow goes through the game.
And that is for the Khawarij as well.
And the Sahaba asked, what is their signs? And they said they shave their beards.
No, shaved heads. And there's another one that does mention shaved beards as well. Yes. But another hadith also mentioned the shaved heads and the black amamas. So, which we'll explain inshallah.
I just want to know, are they still around?
No, alhamdulillah, most of them are finished, but there is I will explain it in the end inshallah. So, in this hadith continues, they would recite the Quran, but it would not go beyond their throats. And they would pass through the religion as the arrow goes through the prey. And this is the one, it also goes, huh? Yeah. So, before we continue, so here, one thing about the Khawarij, they used to recite the Quran. They used to make salah. They used to be known for being very dedicated. But what was their mistake? Aqidah. And what was their mistake? Aqidah is to leave the Kitab and Sunnah. So here when we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, or the Prophet said this in the Sunnah, then this is where we stop. But the Khawarij, they went past this. What they started thinking is my own thinking. Some of them, they were known that their foreheads used to be like the knees of camels. Their foreheads were like the knees of camels from their salah. And their bodies had cuts on them from fighting. And their lamps and their tents did not go out in the night from their making salah and reading Quran. So they were doing a lot of this. But what was the problem? When Ali radiallahu anh told them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, they didn't accept the dalil. When there was, and inshallah we'll get into more about them when we have more time. But there was a battle between them and Ali radiallahu anhu and Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, who went to them to try to make peace, because the Sahaba, they never wanted to shed Muslim blood. They always tried to make peace. So when Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu went to them, they told him that we have 3 disputes with you. We have 3 problems with you. Told them what? He said, 1, when you made the treaty, when you sat down with Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, why did you go and send somebody to make peace with them? You should have just fought them. You should have killed them. So, second, when you made the treaty with Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, you didn't write Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali bin Abi Talib. You just wrote Ali bin Abi Talib. So if you were not Amir al-Mu'mineen, why were we following you? And the third problem, he said, when we fought Aisha radiallahu anhu, when she came in the battle of the Jamal, where it was not meant to be a battle, but when they fought their people and there was a fight, why didn't we take them as prisoners of war, as ghanim? These three problems. So Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he answered them with dalil. He told them that first, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that when there is a problem, then you need to send the people to make sulh, to make the agreement. So it's from the Quran. How can you object to it when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it in the Quran? Secondly, he said to them that when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made the treaty of Hudaybiyah, when the kuffar, they objected to Rasulullah writing Muhammad Rasulullah, and he wrote Muhammad bin Abdullah, does that mean he wasn't Rasulullah? Of course he was sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So not writing Amir al-Mu'minin didn't mean that he's not Amir al-Mu'minin. It was because they were trying to make a peace treaty, so there was nothing wrong with this. And he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam haram on us even to marry. How can you think we can take them as ghanima? It wasn't a battle. It wasn't supposed to be a fight. It was not going to follow those rules. So he answered them with dalil for all of them from the Quran and Hadith. But they didn't. 20,000 of them accepted, the rest of them they didn't accept. And they continued fighting. So this tells us a very important principle for us. That what is our Islam is what Allah has brought in the Quran and what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has shown us. This is Islam. Not what our culture teaches us, not what our parents may have done, not what our country does, not what somebody who we think is pious does. No. What is in the Quran and the example of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you want to take examples past that, take the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us to take them as examples. So this is our deen. Even if you see somebody doing a lot, crying and this, but they're not following the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way of the Sahaba, then this is off the path. Even if you see them seeming very pious. So this is an important example for us. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, when you meet them, kill them for their killing. For their killing, you would get a reward. In their killing, you would get a reward with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. Because the Khawarij left the fold of Islam. They left the belief of Islam. They made takfir, or they called kafir those that were Muslims and shed the blood of the Muslims and disagreed with the Aqidah. So for them, there was the fight. Alhamdulillah, in the time of Ali bin Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, they were defeated severely by Ali radiallahu anhu, and they were finished. But unfortunately, some of their traces do remain in our ummah today. We find some of the people that are eager to make the Muslim into kafir. They're eager to say you can kill anybody who's working with this or anybody who's doing this. And those people, they are getting to the influence of the Khawarij. And that's why we should always value the Muslim blood. We should never make it halal. And the honor of the Muslim and the wealth of a Muslim. Always try to protect it. And there is the Ibadiyah or Ubadiyah that are in Oman, that are also an offshoot, which is one of the fifth madahib that's alive. It's also an offshoot of the Khawarij, but there are very few, alhamdulillah. But the main Khawarij, they finished. Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani reported that these, and about this hadith, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani in Fath al-Bari, he said, these were the Khawarij. So inshallah, we'll stop here and try to go through a chronological order. For one of the books of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, rahmatullah alayhi, he mentions all the 73 sects. So I'm going to use that book to go over all the 73 sects that were mentioned in the hadith. And you will see from it that today's misguided new sects are only reincarnations of those sects. Nation of Islam, Nation of Islam and all these misguidance, they're only reincarnations of Mu'tazila and these sects that have already passed. And those that today make the blood of the Muslims halal and things, they're only a reincarnation of those sects as well. So when we go through all 73 sects, inshallah, we want to also keep in mind for us, we're not just learning this as some kind of academic debate, but how can we protect ourselves and our aqidah and our manhaj from falling into the mistakes that they fell into. Jazakumullah khair.
The hadith that I told you before.
I don't remember the one about shaving the beard. I have read it, but I don't remember the sihha of it. But the one about this one we mentioned here is from Bukhari. And there are many, like one of the ulama put, I think it was almost 50 ahadith that were about the Khawarij. So inshallah I will look that up for you. Yes, sir.
When Ibn Abbas went to the Khawarij, then some came back from, right? Like
Yes.
half of them?
20,000, I don't know.
They left.
They left the method of the Khawarij. They made tawbah. They took the shahada and they made tawbah. Yes.
Isn't the beard thing contradictory to what they believe? So they should be their
So the Khawarij, they would take the kabair, but they would make their own rules. What about the killing of a Muslim? But they would make their own rules. So they didn't necessarily follow what me and you would consider kabair as well. But I mean, I would be shocked as to see which one of them had never committed a kabair. You know, I mean, may Allah protect us, but falling into those things is very easy. So if you make it as kufr, I mean, then you're constantly going to be leaving the fold of Islam. But anyway, inshallah, I mean, that doesn't mean it's okay to do sins, but everything should be in its place, inshallah.
black and white.
They used to shave their head.